everybody, Chad Westport here, and we're back with another edition of Just One Thing. That's where I go out into the community and talk to experienced growers about just one thing they think all new growers should know. And I've got somebody that you probably already know today. I like to call him Mr. Matt, but iCanTHC. How you doing today?
Hey man, thank you so much for having me on, man. Beautiful introduction, and I'm super stoked to be here, man. Thanks for the opportunity, dude.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure, man. It's been fun watching you. It's been fun being on your show. And I'm like, this guy's got some goods upstairs. Let's get him over to talk to the new growers. So we did, and you're here. I appreciate that. I kind of had the sneak preview, but why don't you let everybody else know what your just one thing you think all new growers should know about?
Well, I thought about it for a while, and there are a lot of different things that you can throw out there to a new grower, like training, feeding, all that stuff. But for me, I chose patience, dude. And in
Yes.
my eyes, like patience is just super important. So that's something that I thought that I can touch on today. So for me, man, I honestly found that like patience is a big one simply because like there are a lot of different facets to patience. So when we're talking about patience, you can be impatient. Like think of the opposite of patience is
Mhm.
impatient. So you can be impatient and you can want your plant to grow quickly. So by going along that thought process, you overfeed the plant, you overwater
Mhm.
the plant, you just do too much. So on that in that sense, like a lot of the times less is more, and just be patient. Just remember, plants have been growing for years before we got into the mix. Plants have been growing for years before nutrient companies got into the mix. Plants have just been growing for years naturally, and they know one thing to do. They know how to do is grow. That's all they know how to do, grow. So you just leave it to grow. Don't be impatient, because, like I mentioned, there are a lot of different things that can stem from that impatience. I mentioned the overfeeding. You can have overfeeding issues. You can burn your plants. You can end up with nutrient burn that can be fatal. You can overwater your plants. You can just do too much, and that can also be fatal, as we all know. And even when it gets to certain things, like a lot of people want big, nice yields, heavy yields that can get you through the winter period, through the dark months. But if you're a little impatient, as I often am, when it comes to vegging your plants, you can veg them for a short period of time and you flip to flower too early. That's another form of impatience that I struggle with a lot. So a lot of the times I get my plants, I flip them to flower, and I'm like, damn, well, I wish I got more yield off of this plant. Or people say, Matt, your plants looks a little small. It's literally just because I flipped it to flower too early. I was a little bit too antsy to get to the flower stage, and I sort of shot myself in the foot because I got lesser yields. So just think of it that way. It's always better in the long run to be patient. Just be patient, and it literally will pay out for you. So that's just a few things, and we can even talk about like when it comes to harvest, man, because harvest is super important. A lot of people want to taste their flower, they want to sample it, you want to get in there and try those buds. So you harvest too early. A lot of people harvest too early. You get super hairy flower, flower that's not dense at all. It has not put on a lot of mass or a lot of size. Personally, I've seen a lot of flower that swells up a lot in the last couple of weeks before the actual chop, and you can even push it a week further. Sometimes you see how the plant reacts, you learn from it, and in that sense, again, you're just exercising that patience. You're not being impatient and chopping too early. A lot of people harvest too early and want to know, like, why is my plant tasting not the way I thought it would, or why did I not get the yields? The buds have swollen. They look so swollen, and they've actually shrunk a lot. Because you got to remember, it's like 80% or 70% or whatever of that flower is water weight. So when you dry that, you lose a lot of that weight. And another way that patience sort of comes into it is in the dry and cure process. So you also got to exercise patience when it comes to dry and cure. So if you realize there's a running theme here, you got to be patient through every stage of growth. It's not just one stage. You don't do it just for the seedling stage and then, oh, fuck it, I can do whatever I want. Like, you got to be patient. So a lot of people realize that when it comes to the dry and cure, you got to leave it for 7 days, 7, 10 days, 14 days, however long your environment permits. But when it gets into the curing stage, a lot of times the longer the better, in my experience anyway. So 2 weeks, 4 weeks, anything like that. And the longer you can keep your hands out of that cookie jar, not be impatient and want to smoke it all at once straight off the tree, you will find yourself sampling some better tasting flowers. So patience literally expands across all growing patterns, all growing phases, and it's something that's super important, man, but can often be overlooked. And for me, I try not to do like a lot of people do and feed every watering or feed every other watering. A lot of the times I don't even feed every week. You know, I may just stretch it out a little bit, see how the plant reacts, and just sort of be patient with the bottle, be patient with the feeding process, because a lot of the times if you do overfeed, and people often think that, you know, if I'm in organics, I can't overfeed, but I have put a lot of dry organic fertilizer in mediums, and it's run super hot, and your plants do experience symptoms of burn, you know. So it's a lot of the times it's just less is more for me. And when it comes to like actually seeing what's wrong, a lot of the times the plants will tell you if they're lacking something or if there's too much of something. So you just got to keep an eye on it. If your leaves are lush and nice and green, and you start to notice like a little bit of a fade over time, then you may say, okay, well, it's lacking something. What can I, you know, feed it to pick that up? Something all purpose? Is it nitrogen? Like what will really help me out in this situation? So it's all about keeping an eye on the plants, because there's no one magic formula for everything. We also got to remember that nutrient companies are nutrient companies. A lot of the times they're selling nutrients. They're not really, you know, trying to help you get the best plant. So their readings on their bottle may be a lot of the times too strong. Even with that, I go quarter strength, and I may feed like every other week or something like that. So I honestly don't go crazy with the feeding at all. But when it comes to like the veg and flipping to flower and that sort of stuff, I still find that a little bit difficult, dude, because like you could always low stress train a plant and be like, okay, this looks like enough bud sites and I'm comfortable flipping to flower with this amount of bud sites. And then when you really flip to flower and you realize like, okay, maybe I should have waited a little bit longer. But that thing I would say is literally just don't think about it too much. Don't think about the end goal. I know it's hard not to think about the end goal, but don't give yourself a timetable. Don't do any of that stuff. Don't be like, okay, I want to harvest in 2 months time. Like just let things run, because sometimes what I've noticed as well is that different genetics just grow differently. They run at different growth phases and growth periods. So for instance, I'm running some slurricane now, which runs super strong and super nice lateral branching. The veg phase is super quick, but I'm also growing some strawberry palm, and it's got a lot slower of a veg phase. Like it's just growing a lot slower through veg than the slurricane is. So bearing that in mind, if I flip both of them to flower at the same time, the slurricane will probably be a lot bigger than the strawberry palm, simply because that's how the plant is. So you got to take it on a case by case basis sometimes as well. You know, don't give yourself a hard and fast rule of I'm only vegging for 1 month or 1.5 months, because some plants may not achieve the size that you want within that time frame.
Man, that is great. A lot of great information here today. I hope everybody is soaking that up and taking notes out there, because that was action packed, man. I want to let everybody know where they can find you too. You are definitely out there on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and it's all iCanTHC. So that's the best way to find you. Type that into any of those, you'll get it. Type it in the search engine, you probably find a little bit more. But Matt, man, thank you so much for coming. I really do appreciate your time. I want to give you any last words if you got them. Let people know anything special.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on, dude. I really appreciate it. Everyone that's tuning in, definitely exercise that patience, man. Patience comes in a lot of different ways. And you know what they say? Patience is a grace, and grace is a virtue is a grace, and a grace is a girl that does not wash her face. So don't be that girl. Just make sure to exercise your patience, dude.
Of course, you got me over here. I'm singing Axl Rose, just a little patience. That's just me, though. Long hair, it
I love
happens.
it, dude.
But dude, thanks again, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Keep it locked. We'll have more of these in the future. So until next time, peace out, everybody.
She wasn't ready. No, I'm just joking.
Westport!